In this session, we're about to study about invoke and quarantine. These are very important concepts in Unity game engine. And also, in order to get more familiar with the animation, I'm going to explain those concepts using the animation. Okay, now let's go to our project and continue wherever we have left. So we made our animations. Now we want to use the invoke and quarantine for our player. Let's open the Visual Studio. If you double click on that, it will be open. And now these are the codes that we had before. This is not important. So you can look at that if you didn't look at that before. Just trying to move and jump using the rigid body and also shoot. Okay, so here were the previous codes. Now let's just start this session. Now I want that when the player reaches the fire, it will play the heat animation. Okay, let's play, but I have the previous code, but it is not moving. That's because in the animation, I also, I manipulated the position. So they always have the same position. So it's better that you delete it so only the scaling would work. So now it would move. Okay. And it has the breathing, the scaling animation, jumps. That is completely fine. Okay. So give it a box collider 2D for the fire and then try to fix the size. Now that I play, you see I cannot pass from the fire. But if I make the fire is trigger, just to make it a trigger, then it can pass through that. So you know that when I make something is trigger, it means that when the player comes into that area, something would happen, but it doesn't make the player to stop. So I want that when a player comes here, the fire is triggered. It means that the player can pass through that, but it gets damaged. But if it was a wall, yes, then I wouldn't check that, and I could still make the player to get some damages. But making it is triggered so that because we normally can pass through fire. And also be mindful that during the gameplay you can't change things, but as you stop the game, things return to their normal position when before you hit the place. So after you stop the game, remember to do the changes manually. You know. Okay. So I want that if the player gets into that area that is the trigger area, it just loses some health. So here I go and say private int health is equal to 100. Okay. I can make another code and do that. So maybe it's better. For example, I keep this code that is testing. The name is not good, but in the real game, make it, for example, player movement. But this, I want to make another code. Let's go to scripts and here, let's say player health, then I give it to that player health. I save it, and then I have the player and assign the code. Okay, so it has a player health. I can move it to bottom or whatever, where that I want. So I have the player health, and then I say, because that fire was trigger, so it's an untrigger. Oh, if it doesn't show you that, it means that you have to restart your Visual Studio. So let me do that. That is the player health. I want that it has a tag of, for example, trap. You want to make different things like trap, for example, like something that is needles or fire or other things, and all of them are type of trap. So if I go here, I call it a trap so I can select it better. And here I say on trigger. Now it shows me this on trigger into 2D. Um, if collision dot game object dot compare tag is trap, then for example health minus equal 10, it should lose 10 health. And here I have a debug so that I can see the changes. Debug log, that's log, and I say just show me the health in the console. So right now the health is 100, and when I collide to that, it is 90. I enter again, it is 80. Now you see that's it. But I want that if I want to stay there, that would decrease my health too. So I trigger stay to the, and I say the same thing. And let me comment it. It means that not only I enter there, but also if I stay there, I continuously lose um, health. Even I have to give something to Grim Reaper because that is minus 30, that is minus 400 health. Okay, so yes, we can check later that we should, for example, stop the game when it is 0 or something like that. But as you saw, it's as I entered there, I continuously lost health. So I want that, for example, when I enter to the fire, just after 3 seconds, lose the health, not immediately after that. Okay, so I say here, I make it's a good practice that start be at first. Okay, so then I say private void, and I say lose or take damage And I give that. Um, a method can be simple as that. So this is not executed until that I put it here or here or here. But I wanted after 3 seconds it takes damage. Then I use invoke. It accepts the name of the method as a string. And here I say, for example, 3f after 3. This is float, but it means 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, take damage, not at the first time. So noise 100. No, 1, 2, 3. Nothing happens, and then it starts to. After 3 seconds, is continuously my lose health like before when I hit the fire. In games, you saw that, for example, a player is on the fire and every, for example, 2 seconds, it takes damages. For example, it takes damage, then for 2 seconds, it gets nothing, and then after 2 seconds, it gets damage again. Then after 2 seconds, it is not that continuously after, in each frame, the player cannot take damage. This is not logical. We just want that it pauses, and then after some seconds it takes damage, and then if the play was still on the fire, then again after some seconds it can take damage again, and this should repeat again and again. Then instead of invoke, that we can just use it once. For example, when a player dies, we want that a screen shows and say the end. Yes, you can use that because you only are going to, for example, after 3 seconds or 2 seconds or 1 second, something happens. But for something that you want to continuously happens and as pause between that, it's better that you use the quarantines. So, in order to use that, you need other codes like I enumerator, not I enumerable. Be mindful, I enumerator, and then give a name. For example, delay. For method, you have to make the first letter capital. Delayed, you know, damage. Okay. And here's public or private here. If you don't say anything, it means that it is private. So you have this I enumerator and then a name. And then here, for example, you want to say wait for 3 seconds. You say yield return new wait for seconds, which is the third one. This is something that you have to memorize, but for example, wait for second for 3 seconds. So yes, it's wait for. So what's to do after 3 seconds? You can say health minus 10, or you can directly call this function. You can say either this line of code, bring it here, or just call this function. After 3 seconds, it calls it here. Then instead of this, so you have to call it somewhere. You can break it in update methods, or you want that only if it triggers, if it collides with the trap. Then you can say start quarantine, then the name of the method that you had. So it collides with the trap, it waits for 3 seconds, and then it takes damage. So now if I play the game, my player goes on fire. One, two, three. And then it starts losing health. Up to this part, it's very similar to invoke, but you can change the behavior if you want. You can set some flags like private bool can take damage. So can take damage, make it false. So it means that, okay, the player say, I am safe now because nothing happened. Okay. And then, but if he has some collision with the trap and just checking, if he is not already taking damage, then let's start a quarantine. So it kind of stops from the quarantines operating at the same time. Okay, say the player say, okay, if I'm not taking the damage and I have entered into the trap, then it is time that this happens. Then here they can. It says, oh no, I'm in trouble. I can take damage now. Then after 3 seconds, it can take damage. And then here they take damage, become false, which means that, okay, good, but if I stay here more, it's possible that this loop again happens and I take damage again. So the player has to move away from the fire. So yes, if the first it is false, and then if it was false and didn't take damage, so you can start it, and when it is a start, the flag is true, so it prevents that for example, it means that, okay, the quarantine is running, so it wouldn't make multiple quarantines to happen. Then after 3 seconds become false, so that this condition can be true. But in a very, casual language, we can say, okay, the player first feels that he's in a safe place and say, okay, at first I entered that and nothing happening, but no, I can take damage and it becomes true. I'm in trouble. And if I stay here, I can again take damage more. I say that in both languages, in professional and also in simple language. Now let's go and see what would happen to the player. And yes, right now nothing happens because I'm not in the fire. Then I go in the fire, and then after 3 seconds, yes, 90. And then after 3 seconds, 80. And I'm still in the collider, so I'm staying there. 70, 60, something like this, just continuously happen. Now we want that it changes the animation. And previously we gave it a simple animation. This for no for the player. Yes, it has for idle and also for hurt. Okay, we want to get the animation. So for now, go to Animator. You have two animations. First is the default one, that is the idle, which is a loop, and hurt will be loop, no problem. And now here, I want that the hurt be boolean, and I call it hurt. You should exactly remember the name. Okay, so now make the transition from idle to hurt, and from this to this, and don't check this. Also, for 2D, you can make it 0. So when it wants to go to from idle to hurt, then the boolean is true. It means that, okay, you're hurting. So from idle, go to hurt animation. And when you want to return that, then say false, right? You can also set it as trigger, so it depends on your game. So here you should say private animator, anim. So I told you in the previous sessions about the get components. So which animator? So what is aim? I mean anim. So I want the animator that it is already as your components, which is here. I want to get that component. So get components animator. Now we go here and say anim dot set bool. So what was the name here? And the animator, it was hurt. Bring it down. So yes, it was something that we used. The hurt is true. And here the hurt is false. And it returns to the idle position. Okay, now let's see what's happened. Make sure that your animator is checked because sometimes I don't know, it has weird things happen. Okay, let's go to fire. You see that it shows the hertz animation. And let me move a little bit here. In the glider, you see that it loses health. And now if I come out of that, then the animator returns to idle. And now my life is 30 and I don't lose health anymore. If I again go there, then I hurt and then I lose health. I should get out of that. Okay, so yes, that was it.